John.
Good afternoon, America. My name is John Estrata. Welcome to our program, Conservative America. We're fortunate to have a patriot, a hard-working American, Mr. Or they call him Blue
Laker.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, John, and let's hope that this gets off and out to enough people so that they can participate. And the telephone number here, you have a number, which is your preferred number, but otherwise they can call in at 702-743-8297. Additionally, we're located here at 717 South 9th Street, which is the corner of Charleston and 9th. And so if you'd like to come in and submit your ideas to us, we would be more than happy to listen to them. We may not agree, but at least we'll listen. And that's more than some other people do. They don't even bother to take the calls. So anyway, John, this is John's program, and he has already explained that I'm just a co-host today. So with that, I'm going to let him take off, and I'll fire the questions at him.
Certainly. Your philosophy is we can agree to disagree, which is a good philosophy.
Yes, but generally speaking, when I'm talking to someone who I have a little bit of knowledge on, I'm pretty much in tune with what they're saying, what they're doing, especially when it comes to Trump. I've been an avid supporter of Trump even before he declared his presidency. I ran shuttles for him back and forth when he was here in town to bring people into where he was speaking. And I've spent a lot of time, a lot of money, and I was very hopeful. I always felt that he was going to win the election, although, based on earlier representations that he made, it made me wonder whether he was going to be able to overcome it. But by God, he did. He overcame that, and now he's proceeding along the right lines as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's really cool. I didn't quite get on Trump's train until after the primary started going along the process, and I basically supported Ted Cruz before Donald Trump, but at the time I was living in California, and before the primary got to California, it was pretty much decided that Donald Trump would win. So instead of voting for Ted Cruz, I voted for Donald Trump in the primary in California.
Well,
because from that point of time, I've been supporting Donald Trump.
It's not that I didn't like Ted Cruz. I did like Ted Cruz. I felt that actually working together, those two guys could have made a hell of a difference. But, I can't be upset or disappointed with the fact that he's got Mike Pence there. Primarily because he's a Christian, and because he gives a lot of serious thought to the decisions that he makes. He's a much more controlled individual than Donald. It's not that, hey, look, we all fly off the hook every once in a while, and a lot of times it doesn't take very much to get us started. I'm the same way, but I'm a little more patient than most, certainly much more patient than I used to be. But, things are going to happen in the community and in the world that we may not like or we might disagree with, but I can't look at those small matters. I can only look at the big picture, and the big picture here is that we need to make America strong again. We need to work together to make it happen, and we got to get rid of the problems that we have.
Well, the theme of the show today is keeping America safe, and thoughts and ideas on how we're going to achieve that. So with that in mind, that is really the number one mission for the president and Congress, is to keep America safe, so everything else will work. What do you think about that, Bill?
Well, I agree with it 100% because, you see, I've been an advocate for that for a very long period of time. And all we need to do is look at history and try not to make the same mistakes that were made before. And if we can do that and we can do it better, then we have a chance to survive. But right now we're fighting so many outside elements. When I say outside elements, we're talking specifically about the invasion of illegal aliens into this country. That's one of the bigger issues. Along with that, they have brought their gangs with them, and their gangs are responsible for more deaths here in America than ISIS. That's hard to believe, but the statistics are there. They clearly indicate that the Mexican cartels and the criminals that they brought in here have killed more Americans than ISIS. So when it comes to protecting the United States, the very first thing we have to do is we have to close the borders, and Trump has addressed that to a degree, and I'll explain a little bit more as we get on, but I would prefer that you elicit some of your own ideas about what needs to take place to secure the safety of America.
Well, I think Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, has set the vision. He's got the ideas out there. Unfortunately, you have judges out there that are stopping some of the process of America being safe. The travel bans and all these the border walls. I mean, there's just so much stuff that's going on behind the scenes that are slowing down the process. Just last week, finally, all of President Donald Trump's administration cabinet is finally filled. But can you imagine that after almost 6 months of not having a complete cabinet? I mean, the judges. To me, the number one thing you need to do is you need to impeach judges that are against keeping America safe.
Well, they can't be immune to the dissatisfaction of America when we say that we have an agenda, we want to be strong again, and we cannot have so much disillusion, demeaning, wasted time devoted towards things of very little consequences, including this debacle over Russia. And we'll talk about Russia as we get further into the conversation. But I don't want to get too far away from the subject about keeping America safe. And I do want to point to history, because history is the best teacher. And when we had our war with the Second World War, for example, with Japan, we had a lot of people that were Asians that were in this country who we had to, obviously, we had to worry about them, and we put them into settlement camps, or you want to call them communes, or whatever you want to call it. But we had to do that for the safety of the United States. And if we say that, and it seemed to have worked, because we don't really recall any incidents here in America with the Japanese.
Yeah, let me ask you. It's just for historical point of reference here. It's amazing to me that the Democrats today are trying to block President Donald Trump from achieving a lot of these immigration issues and stuff like that. But if I remember correctly, Franklin Roosevelt, a Democrat, is the one that, in fact, put Japanese American in concentration camps. Isn't that correct?
Well, yes, and the other thing about that is it wasn't just the fact that they were put into the concentration camps, but we have had presidents who have actually deported.
Well, I think deporting is a function of the President of the United States, and that is to keep America safe, especially criminal aliens. Well, criminal aliens, you really want to get like the bad hombres. You got to get the bad hombres out of the system, because if you don't, they're going to keep hurting people.
Well, you're right there, okay, but it's not. You have to look. I look at it slightly different. I look at it just like Roosevelt did with the Japanese. Okay, he didn't know who, what, where, or when that was going to possibly cause the disturbances, the killings, or whatever he anticipated, and he just anticipated in advance that rather than taking a chance for one single American life, and this is really critical, whether it's one single life or 3,000, one is more than one too many. But we can't differentiate between what we conceive as a threat, and Japan was definitely a threat. So when we did that, we said, well, we don't know who's going to do this, and we're just not going to take any chances, and so we're going to put them into concentration camps, and then after the war, we had to do repatriation, which I really kind of disagree with, because once you establish who your friends are, you also establish your enemies, and it's your enemies that you have to worry about, and not your friends.
Yeah. You know, the other Democrat president that made some historical moves dealing with immigration was Jimmy Carter during the Iran crisis.
Yeah.
A lot of Democrats wanted, say, oh no, this is just happening under Donald Trump's administration.
Well, that's
clearly, there's been a pattern of Democrats. In fact, if you even go back further, racism and all this anger and hate towards Republicans. Let's face it, the Democrats are the ones that started slavery.
That's true. They're the ones that started. They're the ones that enforced it. They're the ones that actually got the Ku Klux Klan started and moving. And so, but the black people, I think, are ignoring that for whatever reason. I don't know. I believe that they, I guess, are devoted to Democrats, or maybe they're just devoted to the subsidies that they've been provided with over the years. And as you see, if I had to think out loud, and if I know some people that, and by the way, black people are not the only people that get subsidies, the Mexicans and all the other illegal people get subsidies, whether it's a food
Well, see, I'm not really towards the idea that, you see, people use racism as the problem. Racism is not the problem. What it is economics. I guarantee you that there's a lot of white folks and other folks that are on all kinds of welfare benefits and stuff like that. But to me, it's about economics. And I think Donald Trump is really focusing on something there that really needs to be achieved. Number one, reducing regulations. That would keep America safe by giving people jobs, by creating more taxpayers, being able to get them into the process where they're able to pay.
That's true. And what you're saying is that we need to put more people back to work, because there's too many people on subsidies that are not working for one reason. They make too much money on subsidies, and what they don't make on the subsidies, they get under the table. So the point is that we're paying out of both ends, and that's not right. And it's not right that we have particular groups that are major benefactors that other Americans don't get to enjoy. They only get to pay.
There's sort of like, there's sort of this idea that Latinos are just, takers. That they want to just get all the benefits and stuff like that. I tell you what, I know a lot of Latinos that are hardworking. They go out there and have their own businesses. They create a great economy in the United States, and that's good for America.
Well, I'm not saying that there aren't. There's good everything. Okay, there's good Catholics. There's good, as we well know. There's some bad ones. I happen to be Catholic, and I can say that because I do know what has been historically posted. That especially when it comes to sexual.
I think Melania's a Catholic too. I think, right, the First Lady. At least I've been hearing some reports that she may be in fact Catholic.
Well, she may be Catholic, but we know that Donald is a Protestant, I believe.
Yeah, but I mean, she, from my understanding, she's Catholic.
But he's a Christian, okay? And just to talk about that for just a second, because you say, well, why does religion play into it? Well, I think it plays into it because you'd like to know that the people that you're talking with are on the same page, at least religiously, at least they believe in God or Christians. And so we talk about Vladimir Putin, for example, but few people understand that he came from a very humble background and that his grandmother gave him a cross to wear, and he has never taken it off.
Wow, that's
He's
pretty
never
amazing.
never taken it off. He had some things going on in his life early on that were rather confusing and disturbing for him. And his grandmother basically told him to put his faith in God, and he did. And so we do know that he has come from the rubble, if you were, and he's made great strides towards. Well, he's wound up as the president of Russia, or whatever you want to call it, premier. And so, just to arbitrarily say, well, I don't like Putin that much. What is there to dislike about it? Is the fact that he's running the country and doing a pretty decent job, and that he wants to get some of the properties back, call them properties, that once belonged to the Soviet Union, and that he's done so at the insistence of those people in those areas. The population has basically said, hey, look, we'd like to have Russian control as opposed to whatever their other are. So do I think that he's not just aggressive, but a imperialist?
Yeah.
Okay, and whereas America has been accused of being imperialistic, and that we have spent money and time and wasted billions of dollars, and it's cost us millions of lives in the meantime. Whether it happens to be people who actually got killed or wounded for life, who have disabilities that they can, that doesn't allow them to function correctly. There's a lot to each of these wars, and you talked about Roosevelt, for example, and the depression, the Great Depression that we had, and it was bad. It was bad. But the one thing about the Depression that really impressed me was even then, in hard times, when people didn't have 2 cents to rub together, when they went down to the soup lines and everything, they were properly dressed. They had hats and jackets, they wore suits and ties. Look at what we have today. It's completely opposite. We have people that look like they just got out of the gutter. Attending.
Well, many of them have. And but let me go back to the idea of one of the big issues regarding keeping America safe. And that issue, a lot of people call it fake news. I call it corrupt news. And what America needs is real news. And the best way to keep America safe is for this propaganda machine going out there and confusing and distorting and creating falsehoods to the American public, which is getting them angry and hateful towards Republicans or towards the president. Tell me, when have you ever seen so much hate being put out by some of these media hosts?
I've never seen so much hate in a presidential position since I don't remember ever seeing anything like this. And it's very disturbing that we have allowed it to continue. But just like everything else, it has got to come to an end. And it will, whether it's by presidential decree, like I can't tell you, or some instance it's going to, where we have to put our foot down, or we're going to have to come together. Now, one of the worst things that could happen to the United States is EMP. And EMP is something that can basically bring us to our knees. And if that ever happens, we will be struggling to survive. And even in that struggle to survive, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people who die needlessly because somebody else wants what they have, whether it's water or food.
Sure.
And so,
sir, what's happening like in Venezuela right now?
Yeah,
it's an all chaotic anarchy. It's just totally falling apart. I mean, it's total civil war. Brother fighting brother. Neighbor fighting neighbor. It's just for bread and water.
That's happened in our own civil war. We lost over 1 million lives.
Yeah,
we lost those.
That was the most of Americans that were lost in any war, in the Civil War.
Yeah, and it was all about states' rights. Now, here again, we talk about states' rights. Now, look at that in the face of the Democrats and the Republicans, and it's about states' rights. Well, what is it about states' rights? It doesn't even seem to be about states' rights. We don't really have a legitimate reason for them to try to slow progress, to try to keep America back, because that's what they're doing. And at some point in time, we're going to have to address that in a much more serious tone. And if a couple of more people get killed, we'll be.
Well, we're already in a serious situation when a total, extreme, corrupt terrorist goes in and shoots a congressman playing baseball. We've got major problems in America.
Well, that's true, but you see, that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning, because there are a lot of people who would like to see certain people gone, whether it happens to be Hillary Clinton or you name it, or even Donald Trump for that matter. They just hate, despise. They don't have any reason for it. They're not logical. They don't think, and they don't know what the consequences are going to be after that takes place. So we don't want to try to look that far into the future, because we've been able to protect people like Obama. Okay, and here's another fake news story that, as far as I'm concerned, is yet to come out. But I think he performed one of the greatest hoaxes in American history, because I do believe he was born in Kenya. And despite the claims that even Donald has said, well, I think he's an American citizen.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that that's the case, but his grandmother was in a position to do things that were required to show good citizenship, even those documents that were produced were fraudulent. So, but I don't want to get too off track, because we're talking about what do we need to do to keep America safe. So when we say that, then I say that we have to move. We don't need to be on the defensive anymore. We need to be on the offensive. And whether it happens to be the Democrats against the Republicans, or ISIS against America, or Allah against God and control of this country, these are the things that we have to look at, and we have to look at the gangs, and we have to decide what we can do with them and where they came from. Because let's just be realistic. ISIS is the culmination of Islamic radicals. Of the Islamic radicals. Okay. Bottom line is, where they came from the Muslims. All right. And when these people, they're very devoted. And we may disagree with them.
Yeah.
But we may disagree because we're Catholics or Christians who believe in God, and they believe in a man.
Well, I'm Catholic just like you are, and I'm Christian, and I have a lot of ability to allow people to believe what they want to believe. As long as they're not violent. To me, when they cross that line and become violent, then that's not religious. That's being hypocritical, and that's a big lie.
When you chop off hundreds of heads and you build mass graves for thousands of people, they have already crossed the line. Okay, because it's their doctrine. Their doctrine that says that all infidels have to be destroyed. And that puts us in.
Well, let me tell you. I know religious, and we could talk about religion and Islam and all that, ISIS and all that stuff for a long time. And I think that's a show by itself. But there was an idea that just came out by Ted Cruz the other day that I heard about, and that is that we should send the Marines into Mexico to get these drug cartels. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I don't think that if we did get them out, that they wouldn't come back. Because you got to understand that you think we have corruption here in the United States. The corruption in Mexico is far superior to anything here. And we also have to come to the recognition that people are associated with other people, and they're all looking for one thing: money. And so when it comes to money, politics is, as a matter of fact, Rothschild has said that if you control the money, you control the politics. And that's as long as it is short, and it's true. As long as you control the money, you're going to control the politics, because you're going to find somebody who's going to bend. That somebody's going to tell somebody else to get on the gravy train, and it just perpetuates itself. So do we need honest representation? Yes, we need honest representation here, because that's what they're supposed to be. but we don't get it. We don't get it because they're all in it for what's down the line for them. 2 terms and they have a full retirement for the rest of their lives. And it's...
Do you think the government should be more proactive going against media outlets that are putting out corrupt news?
Well, we got to be careful about the First Amendment because...
But the First Amendment, it's like, for instance, if you're in a crowded theater, you can't go out there and scream, fire, 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 because you can basically hurt a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And so, to me, I think it goes along the same way. If a media outlet or media host says something that is absolutely, totally corrupt and a lie and causes violent action or reaction, to me, I think that's the government should take a role in that. It's like somebody breaking the law.
Well,
you can't,
if they have broken the law, and if they become a threat, if they become a threat to the nation.
Like for instance, some of these Hollywood artists and some of these people wearing T-shirts with having a gun shooting Donald Trump's brain out, or like that one Kathy Giffens, whatever her name was, having the president's head chopped off. This is saying, oh, they should assassinate the president. Don't you think that's going a little too far, and that's not keeping America safe?
It is going too far, and I'm not sure how you control that because again you have to be very careful about giving up rights. And once they get an inch, they'll take the foot. So we got to be very careful about that. Do I like it? No, I don't like it. But
evidently, this guy that shot this congressman, from what I've heard, was that he was a Bernie Sanders follower, and he really likes that Rachel Maddow and her program and stuff like that. So he just that's his idol, and so and she puts out a lot of stupid stuff. Let's face it. To me that's dangerous for America to allow. I mean, I don't think we allow, especially when FCC licenses are given to these broadcast networks, to do a service for America. That's not doing a service for America. That's giving them a platform to create problems.
I understand what you're saying, John, and I believe that there should be some kind of fine line that if they cross. But listen, it's happened in the past. I forget the guys here in Las Vegas whose name was Green something or another, and he was a radio announcer, and he made a statement that the blacks had kinky hair, okay? And the point is that it ruined his career. So, sometimes we have to let fate take over, and then but we have the right to object to those things and to boycott certain individuals for doing that.
Yeah, it's just talking about boycotts. This thing with the Golden State Warriors, they just won the championship. Great basketball team, but they're really, I think, threading on something that's totally obnoxious and stupid. Is they want to boycott a visit to the White House with President Donald Trump. Now, to me, I think that's absurd. And here we give them all this
free publicity. Well,
and I wouldn't be surprised if our federal government agencies or state government agencies or government agencies that are helping Golden State Warriors make more money. And here we are, we're funneling money over to an organization that, let's face it, is anti-American.
Well, again, there needs to be a clear line where when you step over the line, you set the consequences, and if those consequences are, hey, we didn't like your comment, and well, yeah, I have the right of free speech. Well, that's true. You might have the right of free speech, and in an open assembly, but we haven't got an assembly here. And when you make statements, again, we need to use the law to protect the law.
Certainly, yeah.
And we can do that. We can say, read the Constitution, and you have the right the free assembly and to address your grievances to a repressive government. Yes, we have the right to do that.
We do have a right of grievance, but to be able to get on a platform that's basically advocated by America. I mean, let's face it, the Golden State Warriors are put out there by America philosophy, America business. You know, it's all built right into the system. So now a team, even the owner of the team says, you know what, we haven't decided whether or not to go visit the president at the White House yet or not. That's his statement. But supposedly the players went out there and voted not to attend. But you know, it's just really for a team to say, I'm going to boycott a visit to the White House. To me, I think America must boycott the Golden State Warriors.
Well, we can do that as retaliation on our part. The issue here, though, is that, you know, and let's take a look at California, for example, the demographics. Okay, the demographics in California are very heavily Latino and black. And I don't have anything against black people at all. But I'm just saying that demographically, we have to pay attention to their position. And their position is such that they can help mold the future of America, and especially if they join with the Hispanics who have already a majority in California. They already have a majority. So,
well, see, I've come from California, and I probably know the politics of California very, very well. I understand it. Right now, as of this moment in time, Latinos do not vote very much. And so they do have the majority, but they don't have the power or the voting bloc to make changes yet. Now, that's not to say that they won't or they can't. It's just the way it is. You know, and you know, there's a lot of misinformation out there. You have certain very liberal, progressive, socialist, Democrat, Hispanic leaders out there that proclaim that they know what's good for Hispanics or Latinos. I guarantee you there's a lot of conservative Hispanic Latinos in California that do not get the ability to get their message out because you have a very socialist media gatekeepers that keep that message from hitting California politics.
Well, that's true. And if your message is not one that is quote unquote politically correct, you're probably not going to get it out.
Yeah, they stop you. I mean, in fact, you know, I was going to be running for the United States Senate in California, and I had one of the reporters from the San Francisco Chronicle called me up and interviewed me to put a story up. And when I told him that I was a conservative and that I was against abortion and I was against all the stuff that, you know, they didn't like, they said, "Oh no, we can't do the story. Goodbye."
Well,
and so the media, especially the news media, Los Angeles Times, San Francisco Chronicle, they're the gatekeepers for political message in California. And if you don't follow their liberal agenda or socialist agenda, they're not going to talk to you. It's just like what's happening with who does the media go out and talk to? Which Republicans do they talk to? They talk to the Republicans. They're going to knock the Republican Party, like John McCain. You know, they have a way of
inciting,
controlling the message with fake news. I call it corrupt news. And so what we really need to keep America safe, we really need more of real news. And I think the government should take a more active role with these FCC licensing and organizations that do not adhere to honesty, trustworthiness, integrity. They shouldn't be allowed to be in business. There's not too many businesses around that could keep doing fraudulent acts and stay in business.
True, but one of the things that you just mentioned that really struck me that we actually have some, we actually do have the ability to control some of this information that's coming out in the media. For example, if we do right on the tip of my tongue and I can't kick it out. When you demean someone, when you do character assassination, you know, that's something that you can charge them with, regardless of the free speech. So if we start taking the action,
so more legal suit should be filed against these people that are causing this. You're saying that might be the problem is you have these very liberal socialist judges that probably would kick it out and not even hear it.
It doesn't matter whether they kick it out. It's the idea that they have to go through the bonds and you know, through the legal process to get that, to get arrested and through things like that. That's the whole thing, is that you have to be able to, you need to be able to put some pressure on, you have to put the pressure on them, and ultimately, when you do put enough pressure on, like the embargoes and what Boycotts were doing of Russia and Iran and all of that, and the point is that, yes, we do have the ability to take some action. And when enough of that hits the news, and they find out that we're not tolerating it anymore, that they're going to be charged. Because, like, for example, Dearborn, Michigan, okay, where a group of Christians went in there and they were basically stoned. They had rocks and frozen cans of soda pop and beer that were thrown at them. And the police stood by and watched that, and watched them being assaulted, and no one got charged. Well, what's the matter? What's the matter with that town? Where is the law and the order? Where is the law and the order that's supposed to support that?
And that's a key area, law and order in America.
Yeah.
To keep it safe, law and order.
Well, that I believe that's what Donald Trump has said. And
you know, it's just like, you know, there's some protests that took place in Berkeley, and the law and order, the police department, basically left. They left, and they allowed the competing forces to fight each other. Well, it was all out anarchy. It was crazy.
That's what happened at Dearborn, Michigan. Okay, yeah. And we can't tolerate that here in America. We can't have. Now these happen to be mostly young people that were doing all this, but guess what? They were all Muslims. Now, were they all Islamic radicals? Well, certainly in the breeding grounds, you know, certainly they're taking their revenge for us allowing them to come to this country. Yeah. So when we really get down there, what you have to do is you have to identify those people and keep track of those people, because these are the potential terrorists of the future.
Well, hopefully, from what I understand, the FBI and some of these law enforcement agencies, their budgets are not, especially during the Obama administration, their budgets were not really geared towards investigations and protection of Americans. So they really didn't care. Well, so hopefully now that Donald Trump's in office, more budgets and more resources are put into these areas to keep track of these crazies.
Well, they have to start someplace. I don't care where you start a block and you work your way down, or you wait until there's another demonstration and you start collecting names. Now when they start collecting names and they find out that they're ruining their own future, okay, have you been involved in any domestic violence? Yes, I have. Well, this record indicates that you were arrested for contributing to the downfall of America. Serious charge.
Well, you know what you were saying earlier about Russia. You brought that up, and a lot of people don't realize that in Russia, in China, in a lot of these countries overseas, the majority of the people love America.
Americans.
They love the Russian people love Americans. The Chinese people love Americans. It's the government leadership that causes all this friction. Or at least,
can you blame it with the imperialistic attitude that we have to go in and we have to take over? You know, Gaddafi was an ally of the United States, and so was the guy in Iraq.
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, just think about it. You're from Las Vegas. I've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people here in Las Vegas, visitors that come in from all over the world. It's pretty cool. Las Vegas, to me, is a very great place to live because you get a chance to see people from all over the world come in. Russian, Chinese, Japanese, whatever. And it's amazing how they enjoy the heck out of Las Vegas. It's like their Disneyland. And so I think it's I think hopefully peace is always better than war. Let's face it. I'm a United States military veteran myself. I served in the Navy, but and war is not where we want to go. So hopefully, and I think Donald is a businessman. He'd rather make money than cause war.
That's true. We have to be very careful about spending our munitions and things of that nature, and to have a very good cause for doing either attacks or declaring war on someone or anyone. And we have a lot of armament, and we have lost so much in these fights in Iraq, and just leaving the equipment there and then getting it stolen, and billions of dollars.
It's just like this big issue that's just hitting the American political landscape today is the idea of Puerto Rico being the 51st state. Most conservatives don't like the idea for financial reasons. But I'm not looking at it as a financial reason. I'm looking at it as a security reason. I'm supporting Puerto Rico being the 51st state because I would not want it to be independent. I would want it to be a breeding ground for potential crazy lunatics that are real close to America from being able to have access indirectly or directly to the United States, continental United States. So I think it's more of a security reason for me than financial. Now, what I like is what the fact is that Donald Trump being in office, I think he's a great businessman. I think if he fine-tunes this, I think he can make that a state that is prosperous. It's beautiful. I've been there. It's nice. It would be a great, another Hawaii, great potential tourist location. But they got to do it right. It's got to be a business application to make it work right. And I think with that, the financial problems will go away.
Well, we have to consider people of Puerto Rico and whether or not they want to actually become a state.
Well, no, they just took a vote on it. Yeah, they in fact, now it's in the hands of Congress. That'll be the issue that they're going to be addressing now. Is Congress has to vote on it.
I have no problem with Puerto Rico being the 51st state. As a matter of fact, I think we need one more. I can't tell you which one it would be. Would have to be one of our,
another one of our territories.
One of our territories.
Which one would it be?
Well, I don't know yet. I would have to think about that. It's not a subject. But the reason I think that, you'll think this is really stupid.
No, not.
It's with 52, you'll have a full deck.
Well, hey, you're from Las Vegas. You have to have a full deck. Very good. I like that.
So
yeah. In other words, don't stop at 51. You might as well get 52.
Might as well have a full deck.
Very good.
And so, but as far as these territories and the possibility of having a couple of states, those are things that we can acquire legally without too much competition. What gets bad is when we acquire imperialistically and take over these countries and we do it for the not so obvious reasons, which in a lot of cases are oil and money and economics. All right, because again, we can point to some of these people, including Saddam Hussein and.
Well, Saddam Hussein was one of the greatest liars in the history of the world, and he paid a big price.
Well,
he made everybody believe that he had weapons of mass destruction, and now he might have at one time, but supposedly he got rid of it. He sent it to Syria or wherever it went, but it disappeared somehow.
Yeah. Well, that's okay, but the most important thing about Saddam Hussein was the fact that he kept this country in line, and that they had one of the greatest educational systems in the world. All right, so when you have somebody to keep the people in line, that's very, very important. And
yeah, I think what you're saying is that the United States should take more of a not proactive getting into other countries' businesses and let them deal with their own.
well, we go in there, we study advanced weapons of mass destruction.
Well, he made it believe that he let everybody know that he had weapons of mass. You know, he was just, it was a stupid. I mean, you know, and then taunting him with the bushes and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
everybody was agreeing that he had them, and they had no proof, but they made it.
But he's the one that came out and said it too. Oh yeah, I have a, you know, and it was nonsense.
Well,
He paid a big price.
well,
It's just like some of these crazy people, these terrorists. You know, they're over there pounding on their chests and say, oh, they're great. Like this guy from North Korea. He's another one. You know, he's over there saying, I'm going to shoot missiles at the United States and kill Americans and the United States and this and that.
is that any different than ISIS?
But no, but this guy I mean, he has actually, I mean, he has the opportunity of killing more than ISIS can ever kill.
Yes, but we also have the same issues with other nuclear powers, whether it happens to be India or Pakistan or any of the other potentially rogue nations, and especially Iran. So,
Well, we should have dealt with North Korea when we had the active war with North Korea. When we could have settled that instead of a truce and the line, the 38 parallel, they had an opportunity to win that war. But because of United Nations and the political posturing that went on at the time, it stopped our military leaders from achieving victory. Sort of like Vietnam too. It's just like, and here we go again. We have Donald Trump, and I think he's taking a America First attitude, and he's going to go in there and win wars.
well, you got to remember that he has he has no real reason for being president. I mean, it's not a power symbol, maybe, I don't know, but he doesn't need the job, you know. But he's so far shown himself as a great patriot.
Well, and I think that's a good description of Donald Trump. He is a patriot. There's no doubt about it. You know, he loves America. You know, and I think probably one of his great shortages in life was, I think he probably wanted to be in the military, and he never went there.
Well,
but now look at that. He's commander-in-chief.
now he's commander-in-chief. Look at Obama. He was nothing more than a street organizer, okay? And he became president, which I believe will feature. I think it will come out that it was the greatest hoax ever perpetuated in America.
I mean, you know, it's amazing how these hoaxes end up getting every place. It's just like fake news. You know, it's like the media, you know, puts out so much. I mean, I keep saying corrupt news, corrupt media, because, you know, I think it's got the level of more than propaganda. It's evil. You know, when you incite people to do violent acts against us, is not a good thing.
Well, you know, we had a lot wrong, right? You know, including the elections and so forth. We spent billions of dollars, you know, in this last election to get Clinton out of there. Thank God, because I tell you, I was not prepared to live under her administration in any way, shape, or form.
But let me ask you this, Lou. Isn't this amazing? The Democrats now are blasting Hillary on the same point that you put, except they lost. They blew $1 billion and they lost. So the Democrats hate Hillary Clinton because she blew $1 billion and lost.
Well,
Yeah, at least Donald Trump blew $1 billion, but he won. So you have to.
Donald didn't blow $1 billion.
I mean, it's not blowing it because he won.
Well, not only that, but you see, he used the media, and his costs were significantly less than hers, and he did a better job at it, and his persistence and so forth paid off. But more importantly is that of the two people who were running, he was definitely more qualified. Now, you might say he doesn't have the political savvy and so forth. But guess what? He's got a business savvy. And the business savvy is actually much more important because the economy really should come first. That should be the first thing that we deal with. And you will find that most of these wars that ever took place was because of the economy. And so we should pay attention to what history has shown us.
I think history is a good teacher.
And to be able to teach people to live together, one of those things that's going to help, as you may know, John, there was 93 acts against Christianity enacted into law by the Obama administration. 93 acts against Christianity.
Yeah.
And so since we've taken Christ out of the schools, we have seen rapid growth in crime and moral substance. Okay, because our children are not, if they don't have something to do and something to bind them to something, then they're loose.
Well, it's sort of like the process for the kids today is a lot of confusion. It's like, they listen to the radio, they listen to internet, they listen to YouTube, they listen to these artists. There's a lot of falsehoods, being programming our youth. It's corrupting our youth, and so the media just adds on to that, and so they glorify making some of these artists that are. Some of them characters are pretty evil characters, but they glorify them, make them say, oh, wow, just because they're making money, somehow they're great people. Well, making money is not just great by itself. You got to be doing something good with that money. At least that's my position.
Well, I do believe that a lot of the artists and so forth that have come about have, like Elvis Presley, for example, and like, I can't remember his name, the black guy, very, very, very popular.
Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson, these were artistic people. However, I have to say in both of those cases, they were both on drugs. And whether their performances were enhanced because of the drugs, I don't know. I don't think that early on that probably either one of them used them. And, Elvis Presley, he really became well known all over the world, and Michael Jackson the same thing. But if so many celebrities are hooked, on these drugs, and you wonder if they could make it on their own if they didn't have them, because they do enhance your ability, and not only to think but to perform, and to reach to the certain notes and things that are difficult to do under normal circumstances. But we can't worry about that so much as we can trying to keep the future for our youth, because if we don't, then we are leading to the demise of this nation.
Well, I think that's really the bottom line is every civilization, every entity that ever was, always protected their kids. And unfortunately, America's not doing a very good job.
Yeah, and even we see that in Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom become very ferocious if someone attacks their children. And it just shows it's something that's built into nature.
Well, let's say this, okay. We're taught or we're mandated by government agencies not to discipline our kids overly. Although, if some of them, like the teacher, when I went to school, the teachers were able to discipline, parents were able to discipline. I'm here today, and I don't think I'm a bad guy. So, but look at what we've taken the discipline from the parents, the teachers, the people that are able to establish discipline,
yeah.
And we've given it to police officers, correctional authorities, And to me, I think it's sort of putting it too late. It's like you're putting this thing wrong. I mean, there has to be, the government needs to realize that they don't own the kids. The kids don't belong to them, you know?
Well, again, some of these things that have occurred in the last 40, 50 years have really turned American culture aside. We don't have the same family unity. We don't have the same moral codes that we used to have back then. You know, the perversions and so forth that have occurred within the church and other places are obviously things that you and I.
Well, we don't protect life as much as we used to back then. Like, for instance, this Planned Parenthood. You know, most times you hear an organization like Planned Parenthood do the kind of things they've been doing, they'd be out of business. They would just take their federal funding from them. They would be out of business. Now, that's what I advocate. Planned Parenthood should not be in business.
As far as I'm concerned, they're accomplices to murder.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not for human beings to decide life and death. We have a superior.
The life's being ruined. First of all, the aborted child, a baby, and then the mothers and the fathers, and all the mental anguish that these people, as they get older, a lot of them have these abortions at 16, 17 years old, and later on in life, they pay the price.
They do pay the price, and they.
Okay, so anyway, I think we've got the word that.
There is one thing I did want to point out,
Sure.
and that was about the safety of America. Okay,
Go ahead.
and it was time that we use the systems we have available to deal with those issues, and I don't care who they are or where they came from. We need to get back to the practices we had when we had Ellis Island, and I'll explain that in the future, because we have the facilities and the need to do that. And if we only save one life, just one life, in that whole attempt, then we've accomplished our mission.
Well, I think you'll be saving more than just one life. You'll be saving thousands and millions of people, because we're allowing just anybody to have an open border from all over, coming in by flights, north, south, east, west. They're coming in every place. And so it's just not the South, it's every place. We've had open borders for many years. The Asians, you just go on and on and on. And so, but keeping America safe is vital, and we'll definitely be talking about that more in future shows. Lou, I appreciate you joining me and giving your insights and your wisdom and your ideas on this very important topic. America, thank you very much. We appreciate you joining us and look forward to tomorrow's show. Thank you very much. John Estrata, Conservative America.